All right, Cole, if you have to nail down a horse out of the Big 12 in March Madness who has the best shot to go long, even a dark horse, who is it?
Okay. When you think the Big 12, you think of the programs like Kansas. You think
that
of
was
Baylor.
That's my favorite okay of all time, by the way. Just that okay just sets the tone here. I love it.
Exactly. So you think of Kansas, you think of Baylor, because obviously they've got the national championship recently. Or you even think of like a Houston who recently joined. But the one team, and they're really good this year, that I just feel like is getting overlooked because maybe they're just not the flashiest team of all time. It's Iowa State. It's Iowa State. And I feel like people are just not going to give them enough credit for just how good of a team they are, because they don't have the big names. They don't have the 5 stars. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like they just get completely overlooked. And this season, I just feel like TJ Otzelberger has done a masterclass when it comes to defensive basketball. And they're really one of the teams I love watching the most, especially with that atmosphere out there. So when you said, who am I looking at to go on a run in March? I feel like it's them, because I'm not completely bought in on where Kansas is at the moment. I'm not completely bought in with Houston, who's been dealing with some injuries as of recently. And they're just not the biggest team. I just feel like Iowa State, I feel like they're that one team that maybe there could be some magic this year for them.
I know somebody out there is throwing things at their TV or their radio or screaming right now because you said you're not buying Kansas or Houston. We'll get into why that is later in the show. But to hone in even more specifically on Iowa State, I want to mention something that I want to play off what you said. They're not sexy. It's not a fun team to watch unless you are a college basketball sicko. Like, I love suffocating defense. Their last game, 2 games ago, I guess now, 58-45 against Oklahoma. That is not very fun for the casual viewer of college basketball, but it's electric for TJ Otzelberger and what he's trying to build. What is it analytically? Even I know you said off the air, you're a big Ken Pom guy. What is it analytically that stands out that makes you think, all right, I circled this to know they're going to make a deep run?
Well, they're the number 2 team in defensive efficiency on Ken Pom in all of college basketball. And that's not even necessarily what I love about them. I feel like when it gets to March, the court gets shortened. I mean, guys get tight. The refs are very quick to the whistle. And when it comes to a defensive team like that, they don't have to be relying completely on having a hot night. They can lock it down and they can really control the tempo of the game necessary. Like, those guards, I mean, they're amazing. Like Lipsy, obviously. So, I mean, that's kind of something that I've been looking at when it comes to the NCAA tournament specifically, is just how teams can play in that sort of environment, which is slow tempo, tighter whistle type of thing. So that's kind of why I feel like I'm kind of buying into them when it comes to March.
I put, Cole, my life savings on FanDuel last year on Iowa State to cover against the Pitt Panthers in round 1 of the NCAA tournament. And if you will remember, the final score of that game was 59-41. It was gross and it sucked. And Iowa State could not hit a single shot, which we all talk going into the tournament that defense wins championships. And here, the defense was good. 59 points, holding your opponent, that's great. But only scoring 41, not good. What is it this year that you feel like is different? Do you think about that fall apart last year for a team that was still so good defensively?
Yeah, absolutely. But the reason I'm bought into this team, it's because I felt like last year was a little bit of a St. Bonaventure Iowa State team. And I was never really I've never loved those St. Bonaventure teams because they had so many players from St. Bonaventure. And this year is just a completely different team. And I feel like they're a little bit bought in more as a group. And I just feel like I can trust them a little bit more, especially from what we've seen so far with them this season. I do understand that is absolutely a concern because you do see defensive teams just sometimes go in there and just completely lay an egg and then they can't do anything offensively. But I feel like this team has a little bit more of some dynamic playmakers.
Why isn't the country talking about Iowa State going into March?
They're just not sexy, man. That's all it is to it. They're just not sexy. And when it comes to the NCAA tournament, I mean, look who made the Final Four last year. I mean, you've got programs that were like nobody really predicted. Like obviously Florida Atlantic, nobody predicted them. Miami, I mean, they weren't even one of the favorites to come out of their region. And even San Diego State, obviously. And that's a defensive kind of minded team as well. So I feel like they might be the San Diego State team of this year, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Last year's again, it was a sickos Final Four. You had to really just
Yeah, it was
everything
unique.
that the public loves about college basketball. And it works out because it created just pure chaos. And as we talk about what the Big 12 can do to create even further chaos, and something else you mentioned off air as a fun tease, you don't think the Big 12 is going to win March Madness this year, even though you have Iowa State going on a run. Let's talk about that next. We'll give everybody a quick little teaser on that here on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Nissan. Look, you just drive a Nissan. I drive a Nissan. I drive a Nissan Maxima every single day, and I have for the last 5 years, and I love it. I take it across the country, and right now, you don't even have to drive a Maxima if you don't want to. You can drive a 2024 Pathfinder or Armada or a Rogue. It's perfect for city drives. 12.3-inch, which is way above average, HD touchscreen, information system, something like that. It's so intricate, I can't even explain it. 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. The Pathfinder has room for up to 8. 284 horsepower. Can't even count that high. 6,000 pounds of towing. A lot of pounds. That's 3 tons. And the Nissan Armada will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure at shopnissanusa.com. That is nissanusa.com.